One thing bronies have been wondering since the first episode of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, is how did Princess Luna become Nightmare Moon? We all know the story of why, that while Celestia was adored for raising the sun each day, Luna was never appreciated for raising the moon and stars at night, through which every pony slept, likely feeling as though her role in Equestria was meaningless, and that her time to become important to anyone would never come. She yearned for and became jealous of her sister's inordinate fame. As the only nocturnal pony, perhaps she had no way to make friends and was left completely alone through each night. Eventually, with no other way to handle her despair, she decided that she must force the ponies of Equestria to recognize her importance. She transformed into a wicked mare of darkness and vowed to never lower the moon again. But how did she become the more powerful version of herself, Nightmare Moon? Certainly she didn't just poof and suddenly have greater magical ability than her sister. Something must have assisted in her transformation. In an online interview, Lauren Faust seemed to indicate that this is actually the case. I've got a question concerning Luna and Nightmare Moon. In the show, we're not told what, if any, evil force may have affected Luna to make her evil. I wanted to ask, was Luna's turn to evil her own decision alone, or was it influenced by some evil force that hasn't been, and might never be, revealed? I can't answer that. I'd be giving away too much of what I had planned. Obviously, if Luna made the decision on her own, there'd be nothing to hide. 5 years after that question was asked, we still don't know the answer for sure, but we have been given subtle clues to the answer across the 195 episodes that have already aired. And I think now, there's enough evidence to say just what it was, or more specifically, who it was. The most notable of these clues is Princess Luna's cutie mark. The journal of the two sisters documents what it looked like on the day she earned it by successfully raising the moon. As you can see, the picture does not include the black splotch layered behind her cutie mark in show. In other words, sometime before Luna became Nightmare Moon, she did not have this marking. So then, how did it get there, or what even is the splotch? Very little is known about the dark marking, but there has been quite some controversy over whether it is part of Luna's cutie mark. In the Season 4 finale, when Luna's magic is drained, only the crescent marking disappears. But in the Season 7 episode A Royal Problem, when Starlight switches Luna's and Celestia's cutie marks, both the crescent and the black marking disappear from Luna's flank. Some people have simply brushed off the conflict between these incidents as a continuity error, but I say there's something else going on here. In the Season 4 finale, the only thing being affected is Luna's magic. Since only the moon crescent disappears, it must be only the crescent that represents her cutie mark magic. But in Season 7, more is happening than just a switch of magics. As Starlight said, the princesses had to be each other. Even though there is no magic in the black splotch, it still moves with the cutie mark because it is part of who Luna is, or who she used to be. Remember what I said about the black marking appearing on Luna's group sometime before her transformation? What if the marking is almost a second cutie mark, representing whatever she gained in order to become Nightmare Moon? Given that the marking is completely black, it might be a representation of the dark magic that allowed for her transformation. Which might lead you to quickly conclude, well, of course it's not a cutie mark representing her dark magic, because obviously she still has the splotch after her magic having been drained in the series premiere. Which would be a good point, but the splotch could still be a stain on the person she is. In the series premiere, Nightmare Moon is literally destroyed. That's different from just losing her magic. Because a cutie mark also represents a pony's destiny, it might remain as a reminder of what she used to be, and what her destiny became the moment she turned in her only viewable direction, toward the darkness. What darkness could her splotch mark represent? It certainly could be related to several of the experiences she endured: unappreciation, betrayal and ostracism, loneliness and depression, and eventually her own jealousy and disloyalty. Actually, all these characteristics remind me of another pony whose life parallels Luna's quite well: Stygian. Stygian, like Luna, wanted the respect and admiration of his fellow peers, but his work, like Luna's, was little valued, and his role in Equestria came to seem meaningless. When everyone who cared about either of the ponies left them alone, they sought recognition from anyone they could find. Darkness accompanied both of them, causing them to become powerful enough to force their recognitions in some way, which ultimately resulted in their banishments. And of course, after 1,000 years, both were released and freed from the darkness. The only key difference between the two of them is that while we know what took control of Stygian, we've never been told what darkness affected Luna. Or have we?
When I was just a filly, Granny Smith told me of an ancient legend. When Nightmare Moon was banished, not every last bit of her dark magic went with her. Granny used to say, when night falls on the castle, that magic takes the form of the Pony of Shadows!
Could Luna have been transformed by the same dark spirit that held captive Stygian? Then it was he who solely responded to Luna's loneliness, he who advised her to overthrow her sister and to enshroud the world in darkness. But wait a minute, by the time Luna would have turned into Nightmare Moon, the Pony of Shadows would already have been trapped in limbo. Unless, of course, he partially escaped Star Swirl's spell, allowing him to leave behind some of his dark magic at Ponehenge. Not all the dark magic went with Luna when she was banished to the moon. In other words, some of it got away. The dark magic that escaped Nightmare Moon's banishment could have easily escaped this earlier one, allowing it to later infect Luna in her despair and anger, for the same reasons it took control of Stygian. The only pony who cared about Luna, besides her sister, was Star Swirl, and when he disappeared and Luna and Celestia had to step up to take responsibility for all of Equestria, the sisters grew apart due to their only twice daily intersecting shifts.
Cast out and alone, this power-mad pony turned to darkness to extinguish Equestria's light and rob the world of hope.
When all turned their backs, the darkness spoke to her of a power beyond any she could ever imagine, and she listened. She and the shadow became one, and soon all the realm would become the same, and then all ponies would feel the despair she did when she was cast out. But Celestia, using the elements of harmony, banished her sister to the moon and took responsibility for both day and night, restoring harmony to Equestria. Again, however, the Pony of Shadows was not completely contained by the spell, and the dark magic that remained settled in the ruins of the castle of the two sisters. It lay in wait for revenge, haunting the castle for the next 1,000 years, until finally making a brief cameo at the end of Spike and the Main Six's visit in Castle Mania.